Greetings and salutations. It is I, Professor Macabro, here with day 4 of Martial Arts March. Yes, continuing the theme for this month, I am showcasing movies that have martial arts. I was trying to focus on movies that have horror elements and are also martial arts films, or have something of the like. We saw Versus, which has zombies. We saw Ninja 3 The Domination, that has possessions. We even saw Returner, which, that one had aliens, and aliens are used in horror movies, but that one wasn't really horror, it was more sci-fi. So that one is questionable. But this one has no horror elements, none at all. But I love it still. Because, again, it's a martial arts movie, fits with the theme. Also, it's a movie based in the 80s, and it's from the 80s. In 1985, if I remember correctly. And has no horror elements, but sometimes, you gotta enjoy a movie for what it is. And also, I'm a big fan of the color scheme of the DVD, which has red and black, my color scheme. Big fan of that. It's actually a character that also dresses in red and black, which we will get to. But this is Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon, starring Tiamat and Vanity. And, yes, this is a very fun movie, but my personal favorite character is Sho'nuff, the Shogun of Harlem. Who's the baddest? Sho'nuff! Yes, I enjoy him a lot more, but we'll get to him. The story revolves about this character called Leroy Green, played by Tiamat. And he's training martial arts with his master, and he appears to be very, very good at it, because he's able to dodge arrows, and he is actually able to catch one. Out of instinct, he's able to catch one that's marked, and the master's like, how did you know that was the one that you had to catch and not break like the others? And Leroy's just like, I don't know, I just knew. So the master rips the emblem out of his shirt, and it's like, you're good, I don't have anything else to teach you. You are ready. But Leroy suffers from very, very low self-esteem because he doesn't feel he's good enough. He still wants to keep training. So the master gives him an emblem and is like, okay, you go and find this other person. But eventually he comes across Sho'nuff, the Shogun of Harlem. Sho'nuff. And I love Sho'nuff. He's this big, imposing guy with a very big fan of his color scheme, red and black. So he is the baddest of the bad in Harlem, and one kid says like, you're not the baddest of the bad. Leroy Green can kick your ass, and of course he, as anyone would, take personal offense to that. Like, no one can beat me, I'm the best. Sho'nuff. So he challenges Leroy, but Leroy is in the path of not fighting. Martial arts are not for fighting. They are only for defense of the weak and self-defense. So you have this very interesting dynamic where Sho'nuff uses his strength, and Leroy Green has the strength and the discipline, but he's more controlled, which also leads him to not to fully tap into his potential. And Leroy comes across Vanity, which is being harassed by this guy that wants to get her to promote her girlfriend's music. But she doesn't want to because, the girlfriend doesn't sing bad, but she doesn't sing well either. So you have this thing where Leroy is trying to protect Vanity, and I must mention that Vanity is so hungry for Leroy's bones. I mean, she really wants to give it to him, and giving to him good. I must, even though I mentioned that Sho'nuff is my favorite character, I will praise Tiamat's performance. He does play the awkward, shy kind of guy very well. I do believe that he's this guy that doesn't know how to socialize. As a socially awkward person myself, I can relate. Yes, indeed. But I like his performance as an awkward kind of guy, and it does seem like he can indeed defend himself. So, Sho'nuff is still trying to get him to fight, but everyone thinks that Leroy is scared, which, again, when you have self-control and discipline, you must walk the higher path and not, fight. I guess is a standard in most martial arts films. But a lot of people misinterpret that as being scared. But in the climax, Arcadia, the main bad guy, sets up this whole elaborate trap for Leroy Green. So it basically becomes like a beat-em-up video game, which I enjoy. He has to go fighting thugs. And eventually he's overpowered because he's just one dude. And there's a whole bunch of thugs after him. But Leroy's school, because Leroy, thing about martial art masters is that you keep training, but you also teach. You learn through your students, and that makes you evolve as a martial artist. And that's what Leroy does. He trains people also in martial arts. And you can actually see the kid that was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 and Surf Ninjas. His name escapes me, unfortunately. But this is one of his earlier roles. He's very young in it. And even as a kid, he was already kicking ass. So I thought that was pretty cool. So, the school of Leroy comes helping. And eventually he finally has his one-on-one match with Sho'nuff. And Sho'nuff mops the floor with him. He kicks his ass thoroughly. Leroy's able to bring up a fight back and motivate himself. But that's when Sho'nuff releases the glow and his hands glow red. The glow is something that was established in the movie. Leroy mentioned it that when a master achieves true enlightenment and awakens his power, he achieves the glow. And Sho'nuff has tapped into that. Ensuring is also bad, and it's really cool that he has red glow powers. And I love the effects as he's whipping on Leroy, and you can see these red effects. Big fan of that. But eventually, Sho'nuff is able to awaken Leroy's glow, and he's able to see that he had the power all along. He had the touch. Dun, dun, dun. He had the power. So, of course, that allows him to awaken his glow and has his match with Sho'nuff in an epic battle between one aspect of the martial arts, which is brute strength and force, and the other aspect of martial arts, which is discipline and self-control. I think they complement themselves very well. It's the yin and yang thing of this movie, and I love it. But, again, I will admit, even though he's the bad guy, I enjoy Sho'nuff a lot more than Leroy Green. But again, I will praise his acting. He does play the goofy, shy, awkward kind of guy very well. I highly recommend Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon. It's a lot of fun. It's a nice throwback to martial art movies from the 80s. And it's a love letter to that kind of thing. Especially Bruce Lee movies. Bruce Lee gets talked a lot about in this movie. And, but again, Vanity, oh my goodness. She really, really was, she had the whole lip biting, and she was like, you look like a master to me. Oh, lady, take a cold shower for crying out loud. But yes, an enjoyable movie I highly recommend. I give this one 5 glowing fists out of 5. I don't usually use a rating system, but for this kind of movie, I will do so. Highly recommend The Last Dragon. So, I will continue to showcase some more martial art movies that I see. And, I will, of course, again focus on martial art movies that have horror elements. But I will showcase at least 2 more that have no horror elements, but are amazing. Also, tomorrow, this being Thursday, tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, I believe. You might see the Spot of the Irish come into the channel soon, so stay tuned for that as well tomorrow. But until I see you all again, I wish you, like always, a good evening.